Hi everyone, I have my 2 screenshots that I'm going to be adding into the comments, and I just wanted to preface this by saying I have a little script in front of me because I get super nervous and I always want to organize my thoughts, so I'm going to be looking over at my script, and I'm also outside and the birds are loud today. So with that being said, let's get into it. Hey everyone, today I'm going to be talking about Parasite, the 2019 movie. It is one of the most interesting and powerful films I've ever seen, especially when it comes to how it shows class differences and struggles under capitalism. I'll start with a quick summary, and then I'll break down into those 2 scenes with the screenshots that I found really stood out to me. So Parasite is about 2 families, the Kims, who are poor and live in a tiny basement apartment, and the Parks, a rich family with a big fancy house. And the Kims family slowly get hired to work for the Parks by pretending they're not related. At first things seem to be going well, but eventually everything starts to fall apart when they discover a man hiding in the Park family's basement, and it ends in absolute chaos, which is it was a really good watch. Okay, so the first timestamp and screenshot that I have in the comments is for 27 minutes in and 41 seconds. The scene shows the Kim family hiding under the Park family's coffee table. The Parks are relaxing upstairs, talking about how the dad smells, while the Kims are literally under their feet, scared and silent. I picked this one because it shows how the poor have to stay hidden and quiet just to survive. They're right there, but the rich family doesn't even realize it, nor do they even care about it. The second timestamp was an hour and 21 minutes in and 16 seconds. The setup is it shows the Kims walking into a home in the rain after escaping the Parks house into their apartment that ends up flooding, and they lose almost everything. So this particularly stood out to me because it shows how the rich and poor people live absolutely different lives, and especially in the same city. For the Parks, it was the rain, and for the Parks, the rain was just a small inconvenience, and for the Kims, it was an absolute life-altering disaster. So it's funny to see those two like juxtaposed against each other. In her article, Kelly talks about how the movies use spaces like basements and high-up houses to show up who has power, kind of like the power dynamics. The rich live up high and are comfortable, while the poor people live below the ground and are constantly struggling. The idea has helped me see how every part of the movie, like the stairs, the houses, and all of that, connects to class and inequality. So it's kind of like the symbolism with that. So I thought that was really interesting, especially how it relates to Kelly's article. So my own personal reflection. Even though the story is set in South Korea, I could really relate to the Kim's family experience in some ways. I've definitely worked a bunch of minimum wage, pretty rough jobs, and I've dealt with my own money stress and financial stress, of course. And it still feels like no matter how hard I try, it's still not enough to like move up in, class-wise, if that makes sense, like really make any money, even if I'm trying so hard. And I think that both in the US and Korea, there are a lot of people who feel that same type of financial pressure under, capitalist ideals that make us compete with each other just to survive. While we're all struggling in our own ways, sometimes the pressure can bring people together in ways, but most of the time it almost always pushes people apart. So just like using this movie as that example. So to wrap it up, I have a lot of feelings about Parasite. It was funny, sad, and super creepy, but also really real. At the same time, it's not just about the 2 families. It's about the way the world is set up and who gets left behind and who, gets to have it all, really. Watching it and reading Jung's article, it really opened my eyes to how deep and differences with the classes go and how they shape almost every part of our lives. So it really was a good watch, and I know I remember watching it like a few years back during quarantine, but this gave me just like a refresh, and it was kind of interesting not to just like watch it for brain rot, but like watch it in a way where I could connect the symbols to something I'm reading today in class. So it felt really fun. Thanks for listening to my explanation. Thank you.